And now we've got some questions, Ron Johnson. Let me jump right into it here. Question number 1.
Yep.
This comes from @Outdoor Life Minnesota. Which one of the young corners proves himself to start alongside Pat P?
I mean, easy answer is Andrew Booth Jr. I think Andrew Booth Jr. over time, we're going to see he has that, Clemson pedigree. I mean, Mackenzie Alexander, I think when you look at what they got in Mackenzie, he was extremely serviceable. He was extremely good. He just fell into a situation where early on, the rumor was he was fighting the system. And I actually talked to Mackenzie. We're friends. I text him. He and I have chatted outside of football, just life stuff. And the biggest thing was, he got labeled early as a guy that wanted to do it his way, didn't want to do it Zimmer's way, and I don't think that's fear-based. I just think some coaches have it their way. This is how I want it. You got to do it this way. And so Mackenzie had to overcome that and change the mindset and say, you know what? I think this is how I should do it, but coach, I'm going to trust you. I'm going to do it your way. Let's just see if this works. And as they started to figure out ways to get the best out of Mackenzie, well, of course, he became one of the top 5 nickels, in my opinion, in the NFL. Never truly got a chance to play outside, and so I think that's where it happened. Well, now Andrew Booth doesn't have to deal with that. He has Chandon Sullivan that's going to be the nickel. So now he'll have to come in and compete with Cam Dantzler. He has to compete with the other corners in the room, Patrick Peterson. Why am I forgetting the one guy from Missouri? Why am I drawing a blank? Caleb Evans. Yeah, I'm like, why am I drawing a blank on his name? Caleb Evans, Andrew Booth Jr., and Cam Dantzler. I think those are going to be the usual suspects right now. Cam Bynum, I think, is going to be the safety and then the nickel as well. He's going to help out because he played corner in college. But the easy answer, I'm just going to go with Andrew Booth Jr.
So when people think of Cam Dantzler, I think the first thing that comes to mind is, end of game lapses where mentally he makes, it's Seattle, his rookie year, Dallas, his rookie year, Jacksonville, there was a mishap, the Lions game last year where he backed up too far in the end zone. Like, he does have a building list of flubs late in games. But if you look at his play just on a steady play-by-play basis, like his PFF rank his first 2 years, 15th last year, 23rd the year before. That's pretty good amongst all corners in the league that are starting level. That's not bad. So I think the guy can play, and I think that he could actually be kind of that locked in other outside corner, and that gives Andrew Booth a little more time. I'm okay with Booth sitting and learning for a year under Peterson. Maybe he has that fourth corner to cycle in if needed. Got to give Dantzler or Peterson a break. But I think people are sleeping a little bit on Cam Dantzler. If he cleans up the fourth quarter stuff, the 2-minute stuff, I kind of like him to rise up and be a solid starter on this team.
Yeah, I think so. Like Cam Dantzler, again, we saw some of the tweets from him, and he had to delete the tweets after games. He felt like he should be in games, so he'll get his chance. It's a new staff. They don't know him from Adam. Hey, let's go out there and compete in training camp, and it should be a fun one. I mean, you have him and Andrew Booth Jr. and a Caleb Evans all fighting for spots, and I think everybody feels good about that talent compared to years past when you looked at what was in the cupboard. We knew what was on the shelf, but what was in that cupboard? And so now we kind of have an idea, and we'll get to see these rookies compete.
Let me ask you one from Foot Jab on Twitter. He asks, where is Anthony Barr now? And I'll expand upon it just to get a little more out of the question too. What do you think? And the answer is that Barr is unsigned. He's still floating out there as a free agent. What do you think his role will be this year with whatever team he lands at?
Well, it depends on the team he lands on. If it's a team that's like Rams-like, where it's like, hey, we already have our championship pedigree. We already have our guy. Kind of like Von Miller. Von Miller went to the Rams and did just enough, but didn't have to do it all. So if he ends up on a team like that, where it's like, look, we already have defensive stars. We just need you to come in and be a solid piece of this puzzle, make splash plays, get after the quarterback, be able to cover tight ends if we need you to, but I don't think that's his forte. He's truly more like a Za'Darius Smith. Like, he's a guy that likes to get in there and mix it up and go after the quarterback. He never truly got to do that in a 3-4, in a 4-3, but in a 3-4, hey, he could become that TJ Watt type of guy that we hope he would be. When we first heard that Ed Donatel was coming and changed this to a 3-4 before the Za'Darius Smith, we thought Anthony Barr was the easy answer there. We're like, hey, look, there's a guy that we already wanted to see rush the quarterback. So wherever he's going to go, I think he's going to have to go to a system fit. I think he wants to go to a 3-4 defense. So, what team out there in the 3-4 defense has the money to get him, or is he willing to take a hometown discount and stay, because he could have went to the Jets, but he stayed with Eric Kendricks in the Vikings. So clearly he likes his friends. I mean, there's emotion in this. This is life. Is $3 to $4 million enough to play football and be around your friends? Yes. Do you want 12? Of course. But why not go show and prove? Play with za'darius, play with Eric, play with Jordan Hicks. Now you guys are one of the best linebacking groups, if not the best linebacking group in football right now. And you have a defensive line who's just going to get it done. You still have Daniil Hunter. Like, I don't know if you qualify him now as an outside linebacker, or he's more like a DeMarcus Ware, so I don't know where you put him. But, I mean, you could create some havoc if you think about Anthony Barr, Za'Darius Smith, and Daniil Hunter all rushing the quarterback. That's a scary defense. And if $3 to $4 million is enough to keep him happy, he's already made a lot of money as a first-round pick, plus contract after contract, $12 million last year. I could see him coming back to the Vikings, but I do see wherever he goes, he's going to need a system fit guy. That's going to be his role wherever he goes.
Yeah, I mean, I think he got in the situation where he attached a dollar value to himself that the teams in the league did not. There's a big difference there, and usually the teams end up winning, and the teams pay what they want to pay instead of a player. Of Barr's age and injury history, he probably won't get exactly what he wants, and if he is willing to take that discount, I would definitely take him back in Minnesota. I mean, I thought he played pretty well when he was healthy last year. That's a big question if he's healthy, but I still think he'd be a great fit on this team. Next question from Purple People Tweeter. Where will the Vikings rank for plus-minus points scored at the end of the half? And to add some context to that, this is from Warren Sharp. The Vikings allowed TDs on 32.4% of opponent drives in the final 4 minutes before halftime or the end of the game. So almost 1 out of every 3. That was worst in the NFL. They were 32%. NFL average was 12%, according to Warren Sharp. So they were historically bad at the end of halves. Mm-hmm. How do you think they'll do in that regard this year?
Well, one, you're going to have an offensive-minded coach who has an end-of-the-half mindset for offense, meaning he's going to want the ball in his hands. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means, you go into your 4-minute offense at the end of the half versus trying to really push it down the field and score early, and then you're putting your defense back out on the field. There's a lot of strategy there. I remember Rick Spielman, we made the comment to him one year, it had to be 2 years ago maybe, when Zimmer's defense struggled. And we said, man, the 25th ranked run defense or something like that, blah, blah. And he literally threw the offense under the bus. He said, look, you can't stop the run if you're on the field for X amount of, basically saying if the offense could actually convert another third down, could stop turning the ball over, maybe the defense wouldn't have to be out on the field. So we did have Zimmer's back in that regard on TV, like on our TV show for Vikings Game Day at training camp. He said it. So this is not speculation. It's out there. He said it. And so I look at that. I look at like an offense being able to sustain drives and keep the defense off the field. Also know a defense is going to think, look, bend but not break at the end of the half. We don't need to make a big play and just keep them in front of us. They're the ones pushing the envelope. We can relax and sit back and keep them in front of us. And I think that was the key too. There were a lot of mistakes sometimes at the end of halves where just the analytics wasn't there to remind the coaching staff, hey, this is a pain area. So I'm just going to say they're going to cut it in half. The plus minus, if it was 32%, they're going to be at 15%. Like, I think they're going to cut that in half because that's simple mental stuff. And that's also getting your offense to play with your defense.
Yeah. I mean, most teams are just going to regress or progress, I guess, back to the average. You're not going to be that bad back-to-back years. I mean, you're going to get lucky at some point and you're going to accidentally stop somebody. It's hard to be as bad as it was last year. And I do think that your first point was great. The offense is not going to give the other teams as many opportunities. There were a number of 3-and-outs last year where the Vikings got the ball, minute and a half, pass incomplete, punt. And suddenly you're giving the other team a minute 10 and they go do something.
Correct.
I think they'll be a little better at it this year.